So good afternoon. So in the previous sessions, we have discussed about the threads. And then in the threads, we have discussed about the thread class. So in the thread class, we have so many constructors and methods. So for example, thread class has so many methods like start, run, alive, is alive, and join. So like that, the thread class has so many methods. So each and every class extends from the thread class. So if you define any class, means that class has to extend the thread class. So all the thread classes are subclasses for thread class. So and then we have seen the creation of the threads. So there are two ways to create the threads. So there are two ways to create the threads. So first one is by using the thread class. So by using the thread class, we can create the threads. And then by using the runnable interface, we can create the threads. So threads can be created by two ways, by using the class and by using the interface. So the class is thread class. By using the thread class, we can create the threads. So by using the interface, we can create the threads. So by using the interface means the interface name is runnable. So runnable is an interface. So each and every class can implement this runnable interface. If you want to create the thread means either you have to extend the class from the thread class, or you have to implement the 1 minute. Hello, madam. కన్ఫర్మ్ మేడం, ఇప్పుడే కనుక్కున్నాను కృష్ణవేణి మేడం కేసు 39 కూడా కన్ఫర్మ్. ఓకే మేడం, ఓకే. So threads can be created in two ways. First one is by extending from the thread class and by implementing the runnable interface. So we have seen the examples for thread class as well as the runnable interface. And then we have seen the thread priorities. Priority starts with 1 and ends with 0. So each and every thread, when we create the average, the default priority is 5. Priority value is 5. So we can change the priority values by using the set priority and get priority. We can change the values. So and then we have seen the thread states and thread life cycle. So after creation of this thread, the thread can goes to the runnable state. After runnable state, it goes to the running state. After running state, it may be goes to the waiting state. Or after waiting, it can be allocated to the runnable state. So after performing execution of the thread, that can destroy the thread. So roughly we have the 5 states: start state, that means create state, and then runnable state, running state, waiting state, and dead state. So we have 5 states. So we have seen the state transition diagram also. So that is very, very important thread life cycle, or we can call it as thread states. So creation of the threads is also very, very important. And then next concept is multi-threading. Multiple threads. We may have the multiple threads. So we have seen the creation of the threads. So likewise, we can create the any number of threads. We can create the any number of threads. So thread 1, thread 2, thread 3. At a time, we can have the five any number of threads. Suppose, for example, we have the 5 threads: thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, thread 4, thread 5. So what do you mean by thread? That is nothing but some part of the program. So we have the long program. So in that program, we have the small part. Suppose if you take the calculator program, if you in the calculator, add, subtraction, multiplication, division, 4 modules are there. So add is a sub program. So add is a some part of the program. So add can be treated as thread. Subtraction can be treated as thread, another thread. Multiplication can be treated as another thread. Division can be taken as another thread. So all these threads utilize the resources. So in the operating system, you will get the concept of synchronization. So if the more than one process requires some resources, then synchronization problem will arise. Suppose, so for example, if you take the 3 to 4, today's 3 to 4 class is Java programming. So some other faculty wants the same class. At the same time, at the same time, I want the class and another faculty is also want the class. So that type of there is a need to be synchronization. That's why timetables are designed. That means this time that means schedule is given, scheduler. So we have two types of schedulers: long-term scheduler, short-term scheduler, CPU scheduler, and then job scheduler. So like that we have so many schedulers. So to make the all the process and all the threads synchronizable, we need a proper plan that can be done through the scheduler. So scheduler can schedule the events. Scheduler can schedule the event. That means at what time at what time what process has to be executed. At what time what process is allocated for the processor. So like that, there is a need to synchronize the events. There is a need to synchronize the threads also. If that at a time two threads, add thread one, subtraction thread two. At a time c is equal to a plus b, c is equal to a minus b. So at the same time, thread one and thread two, at the same time, two threads request the same resources, AB values. AB values, but the processor allocates only for single event, single thread. So another process has to wait. So that can be make sure that can be if the situation is like this, then the synchronization will be achieved. So if the at a time the resource is allocated for the T1 as well as T2, then synchronization may lose. That means if the thread one updates the value of A, then the result will goes wrong. So that is the situation. So there is a need to synchronize the threads as well as the processes. So process has to be synchronized. So at a time, one process has to be executed. That means mutual exclusion conditions. At a time, the resources are allocated for the single process at a time, mutual exclusion. So you know the mutual exclusion conditions also. So same can be applied to the threads also. Suppose at a time, two or more threads comes for the execution, only single thread has to be executed. So remaining threads has to wait for the processor. So that is the concept in the synchronization. So we have the method. We have the method in thread class join. So join is a method. So if you use that method, then all the remaining threads waits for the processor until T1 until T1 exists. T1 execute the process. That means if you give the syntax like this, if you invoke the method, suppose if you invoke the method like this, suppose T1 dot join. I think join is a static method. We don't need a object to invoke directly through the class name. We can access the method. The method name is join. Suppose if you give the join of T1, suppose thread name is T1. If you give the statement like this, that means the join method join of T1. That means until the completion of the T1, the process until the T1 execution completed, then there are all the remaining threads, that is T2, T3, T4 has to wait. So this is the purpose of the method join. So if we have the four threads T1, T2, T3, T4. So if you invoke the method by using the join of T1, that means all these processes, all these threads will wait until the completion of the thread T1, until the completion of the thread T1. So then this remaining threads T2, T3, T4 will wait for the resources. So these three processes will be in the waiting state. So T1 is in the running state, executable state. So that is the importance of the join method. So like that, to perform the synchronization in Java, in threads, the synchronization can be achieved by using the three ways. The synchronization can be achieved by using the three ways. So first one is, so we have the keyword synchronized. We have the keyword synchronized. So by using the synchronized keyword, you can perform the synchronization. And then by using the synchronized block, so we can place some statements in between the synchronized block. So in that way, we can perform the synchronization. And then synchronized block, and then synchronized static method. Synchronized static method. So by using these three ways, we can perform the synchronization in threads. So here the keyword is synchronized. So synchronized is a keyword like static, like super. So like that, synchronized is also a keyword. So which is used to perform the synchronization between the threads, synchronization between the multiple threads. So there are three ways: synchronized by using the synchronized keyword, by using the synchronized block, by using the synchronized static method, synchronized keyword. So that means we can use the synchronized keyword for the block. We can use the synchronizer keyword for that block. That means for that method. So let us see the examples for this. So remember that synchronization can be achieved by using the three ways. By using the three ways, we can perform the synchronization. Synchronizer keyword, synchronized block, and then synchronized static method. So let us see the examples. You will get to know the concept. So let us see one by one. So before going to that, let us see the multi-program, multi-threading. So let us see the multi-threading. That means if you create the 4 threads, what happens? So if you create the 5 threads, multiple threads, how the execution will be. So in general, if you don't use the synchronization, means the compiler or the programmer cannot know the which thread will run first. So sequence of the program execution cannot be predicted by the programmer. So if you use the multiple threads, so which thread will execute first? No one knows. So there is no sequence of execution of the threads. So randomly the threads will execute. Thread 1 will execute first, next thread 2, next thread 5, next thread 4. So like that, the threads will execute. There is no synchronization between the threads. So let us see the some program. So let us see this program. So let us see this program. In this, the program aim is to identify the multi-threading concept. So if you have the multiple threads, how the program execution will be. Let us see the example. So here I am defining the class example. Example is a class I am defining. So in this I am creating the method void. So in this I am creating the method display. Example is a class. In that I am defining the method display. So the display method consists of all these statements. Display method consists of all these statements. So let us see the first statement. Thread G. I am creating the reference for the thread. So thread is a main class here. Thread is the parent class here. So I am creating an object G of type thread is equal to thread dot current thread. So current thread is a method. So which will maintain the current thread. Suppose if you have, so in the multi threading, the T1, T2, T3, T4. So all the 4 threads will execute the same method. Let us say. So T1 execute the display method, T2 execute the display method, T3 also execute the display method. So in that case, so the compiler has to know the current thread. So what is the current thread? Whether T1 or T2 or T3 or T4. So which is the current thread? So to refer that, I am creating an object G. So in the multi-programming, that means multi-threading. So we can, by default, we have to use this keyword, this statement. Thread G is equal to thread dot current thread is a method. Current thread means either it is a thread 1 or thread 2 or thread 3. So to give the reference, we will use this statement. Then, so just I am using the for loop. I is equal to 0, I less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. So in this, I am using the try catch block. That means there is a possibility of the exception. That's why I am using try block. So this is the logic, thread dot sleep. So sleep is a static method. So we can directly invoke this method by using the class name, thread dot sleep. 2000 milliseconds, 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds. So the syntax, you know. Next I am printing the I value. Next I am printing the I value along with the thread name. Get name is the method which is used to display the thread name, get name. So G dot get name. So G dot get name means, so G will hold the current thread value. Suppose if the current thread value is 1, then thread 1. If the current thread value is 2, thread 2. So like that, the program will execute. So this is the logic. So if there is any exception, the corresponding to that exception, the catch method is defined here. The catch method is defined here. I am closing the for loop, display method, and then class. So this is the class I have defined. So in this, I have defined the display method. So next, let us see. So next, let us see. So I am defining the another method, another class T. So here I am defining the another class T. So which extends from the thread class. That means we are defining the thread method. That means run method in the class T. So whenever you define the run method, so that run method's class must extend from the thread class. So if you define the run method in the previous class, then that class has to extend from the thread class. So you have to give the extends also. Then I am defining some object E, reference variable E of type example. So in the previous class name is example. I am giving the reference E. So here I am defining some constructor T. I am initializing that value T. I am passing the object E, example E, and I am assigning to the this dot E is equal to E. So this is the initialization I have done in the constructor. And then I am defining the run method. So the run method is E dot display. The run method is E dot display. So is this reference to the example E dot display. That means display method is in the example class. So that's why I have defined an object reference to the example. Object reference to the example. Example is the class name. So I am invoking the display method by using the object E. So E is an object of type example. So E dot display. So this is my thread. So this is my thread. So the thread has display method. The thread has display method. So all the executable statements in the thread has to placed in the run method. Has to placed in the run method. So next I am defining the main class. Next I am defining the main class. So multi-thread thread 1 is a main class name, public static void main. So here I am defining some object EX of type example. A new example, you know the object creation syntax. And then I am defining the another object T1. T1 is the thread 1. T1 is the thread 1 of type T. Why? Because run method is placed in the T class T. That's why we have to create the T1 of type T. New, I'm passing the object EX. I'm passing the parameter EX. So T EX, that means we have created the constructor T there. T. So we are passing the object EX. So next T2, T3. Next T2, T3. So next we have to start the threads. T1 dot start, T2 dot start, T3 dot start. So whenever the program execution starts with the main method. So in that we have invoked the T1 dot start. That means thread 1 starts execution. That means T1 dot start means so automatically run method will execute. That means directly the control will comes to the run method. The control will comes to the run method. So the run method will execute e dot display. So e dot display means directly then the program directly goes to the e dot display. Then the program directly goes to the display method. So in the display method, the current thread value is G. That is current thread value is 1, thread 0. Then it will wait for the 2000 milliseconds. Then thread 0, I value is 0, printed. Next, the loop will repeat thread 1, I value is printed. Thread 2, I value is printed. Not thread 2, thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, like that. Then after that, thread 2 is started. Thread 3 is started. That means parallelly, all the run methods will execute. That means the compiler programmer cannot predict the which thread will execute. So let us see the output. Java C multi-thread 1.java, no errors. Java. See the output here. So first thread 2 is executed. Thread 1 I value is printed. Thread 0. Next again thread 1. So see the output here. So this is the printf I have written. So this is the printf. So this is the printf. I am printing the output. So let us see the output. So g dot get name. Get name is thread value, thread name, thread 2. So thread 2, I value is printed. I value is 0. I value is 0. I value is 0. So thread 2 is first executed. Next thread 1 is executed. Next thread 0 is executed. So this is one iteration. Up to this one iteration. Next again thread 1 is executed. Next thread 2. Next thread 0. So this is one iteration. I value 1. So this is for I value 0. This is for I value 0. Here I value 1. Next this is for I value 2. This is for I value 3. I value 4. I value 5. So see here. So there is no synchronization between the threads. There is no synchronization between the threads. That means first thread 2 is executed. Next thread 1, thread 0. So in the second iteration, there is no possibility that first second thread will execute. So in the second iteration, first thread is executed. So here second thread is executed. In the next iteration, first thread is executed. Next first thread is executed. So there is no assumption that there is no order that the threads will execute in that fashion. So here we are lacking the synchronization. So there is no synchronization between the threads here. So in order to get the synchronization, we have 3 approaches. So first one is synchronized keyword approach. That means whatever the logic, synchronized keyword approach. That means you have to add the synchronized keyword for the thread executable statements. Thread executable statements. So thread executable statements are written in the run method. Thread statement, all the thread statements are written in the run method. So, but run method is a overridden method. So run method is already defined in the thread class. So we have to use the same signature. We don't change the signature of the run method. So if you add the synchronized keyword, suppose for example, see here. So public void run. So this is the signature of the run method. This is how the run method is defined in the thread class. So we have to use the same signature. Suppose if you use the some keyword synchronized, if you use the keyword synchronized before the run method, so it will not execute. There is a overridden method overriding problem will arise. That means in the base class, the run method is defined in this fashion. So in the base class thread, the synchronizer keyword is not added to the run method. So we should not add the synchronized keyword to the run method. Synchronized keyword to the run method. So that is one thing. So how to achieve the synchronization then? So the synchronization can be achieved so by using the another way. So is there any possibility? So we have to use the all the thread related statements are written in the run method. So we don't use the synchronized keyword before the run method. So then we have to use the synchronized keyword in the display method. So we may use the synchronized keyword in the display method. So in the definition of the display method, so display method is I am defining. So this is an example class. So this class has not derived from derived class. So we can have the synchronized keyword here. We can have the synchronized keyword here. So this is the first way of achieving the synchronization. So if you use the synchronized keyword here, then so whenever the display method is invoked, that means the control goes to the this display method. The control goes to this display method. So this display method is already synchronized. The display method is already synchronized. We have used the synchronizer keyword. That means this method will execute synchronization. The methods will execute in the synchronization manner. So let us see output, then you will get to know. So the first way of implementation of the synchronization keyword. So I have used the synchronization keyword in the display method. So let us see the output. So Java C esync1.java. So see, check the output. How the output will print. Thread 0, again thread 0, again thread 0, again thread 0, again thread 0. Up to the I value 5, thread 0 is executed. After the execution of the thread 0, thread 1 will execute. Thread 1 will execute. So thread 1 is running. Thread 1 is running. Then thread 2 starts execution. Now thread 2 is running. See the output. Thread 2 is running. So we have created the 3 threads. Thread 0, thread 1, thread 2. So here the output is synchronized. That means first thread 0 is executed. That means thread 0 is in the running state. Thread 1 and thread 2 are waiting state. So in the second iteration, thread 1 is in the running state. Thread 0 and thread 2 are waiting state. In the third iteration, thread 2 is in the running state. Thread 0 and thread 1 are waiting state. So in the previous example, without synchronization, the output is like this. See the output here. So there is no synchronization here. Randomly, the output is randomly the threads are executed here. Thread 2, thread 1, thread 0, 1, 2, thread 1, thread 2, thread 0. So, but here when you use the synchronized keyword in the statements, the output is like this. So this is the synchronization. First way of synchronization. Second method is synchronized block. That means synchronized method. We can place the statements which are need to be synchronized are placed in the synchronized method, synchronized block. So let us see this one. So this is the synchronized block. So this is the synchronized block. So this is the synchronized block. That means, so these statements has to be synchronized. So these are the thread statements. These statement has to be synchronized. So that's why I am placing these statements within the synchronized block. So this is the synchronized block. Synchronized block open, close. You have to place the entire statements in the synchronized block. We can call it as a synchronized block. So the syntax is synchronized current thread. So this means current thread. We have to pass the arguments. The argument is the current thread value, current thread. That's why I have used this keyword. And then we have to place the same. We have to place this block of statements within the synchronized block. So this is the another way of synchronizing the threads. So let us check the output here. Check the output. So thread 0 is executing. After completion of thread 0, thread 2 is executing. So after completion of the thread 2, thread 1 is executing. So all the 3 threads are synchronized here. After completion of the thread 0, thread 2 is executing. After completion of the thread 2, thread 1 is executing. So all the threads are synchronized. So this is the second way of synchronizing the threads. So first way is, so before the method, we can use the synchronizer keyword. Second one is we can place the entire block of statements in the synchronized block like this. Third one is we can place the synchronized keyword and make the method as static. That means, see this one. Previously we have the display method. So before the display method, we have used the synchronizer keyword. So before the display method, we have used the synchronizer keyword. And then I am using the another keyword static. Synchronized static method. So this can be called as synchronized static method. That means we are making the display method as static. That means without the creation of the objects, we can access this display method by using the class name. We don't need any object to create. That is the purpose of static. We don't need any object. We can directly access this display method by using the class name itself. So same syntax, but we don't need any constructor here. So in the previous program, so we have placed the some reference object E. We have created the object E for the example class, but we are making this example class as, we are making this display method as static. We are making here the display method as static. Then there is no need to have this object reference. We don't need to have the object reference. So we don't need any constructor also. Here we don't need any constructor. Let us see here. So we don't need any constructor here. So we can directly call this display method by using the class name. By using the class name, we can directly access this method. We don't need any object. So that's why I have given the static here. Static. So same thing. But we don't need any object for the example. We don't need any object for the example. Directly we can create the threads and we can start the threads. Check the output. So same thread 0 is running first. So in this way, we can provide the synchronization in the threads. So there are three ways to provide the synchronization in the threads. First one is we can use the synchronizer keyword in the before the method name. Before the method name. Second one, we can use the synchronized block. We can place some statements in the synchronized block. Third one is by using the synchronized static method. By using the synchronized static method. So these are the three ways to implement the synchronization in the threads. So next one. So deadlock and race condition. So you know in operating system we come across the deadlock. The waiting process which requests the resources of another waiting process is called deadlock. That means at a time, two or more threads request the same resources, then the deadlock will occur. The race situation is the threads are racing for the processor. That means the thread has to execute. The ultimate goal of the threads is to execute. The ultimate goal of the process is to execute the process. So for execution means we need a processor. So we have this single processor architectures. We don't have the multiple processors. We have the multi-core processors, but we don't have the multiple processors. We have the single processor. So we are in the era of single processor architecture. So our system consists of the single processor, but we have the different cores, different processing cores. That means at a time, more than two threads or more than two processes cannot execute. At a time, single processor will execute. At a time, single thread will execute. So all the threads race for the processor. That is called the race condition. So see this example. We have the two threads. So thread 1 requires the requesting the method 2. Thread 2 requesting the method 1. But method 1 is executing already. Method 1 is executing. Currently method 1 is at the thread 1. So thread 2 executing the method 2. So thread 2 is executing the method 2. But thread 2 needs the method 1. Thread 1 needs the method 2. So in this situation, deadlock will arise. So let us see some more example. Suppose we have the 4 threads. T1, T2, T3, T4. So method 1 locked by T1. That means thread 1 is executing the method 1. Locked means the thread method 1 is under the control of thread 1. T2, thread 2. Thread 2 executing the method 2. So this is the scenario. So you can understand the things like this. Thread 2 is executing the method 2. Thread 3 executing the method 3. Thread 3 is executing method 3. But here thread 3 locked by method 3. So thread 3 is executing the this one. Thread 4 executing the method 4. Thread 1 executing the method 1. Thread 4 executing the method 4. So here see the arrows. T1 needs, T4 needs T1 to finish. T4. So T4 is method 4. Method 4. So here T1 is executing the method 1. Here T1 is executing the method 1. So here, if you want to execute the T4, so T4 is executing the method 4. In the previous step, T4 is executing the method 4. So this is a cyclic process. Cyclic process. So that means this request this one. So this request this one. So this request this one. This request this one. So there is a T1 request T2, T2 request T3, T3 request T4, again T4 request T1. That means infinite waiting, infinite waiting. So this is the some example for deadlock. Next, inter-process communication. So in operating systems, we come across the inter-process communication. So inter-process communication can be achieved by using the shared memory and message passing. So in the threads also, inter-thread communication can be possible. That means two or more threads can be communicated. So communicated by using the two methods. So inter-thread communication can be done by using the two methods. First one is wait method and second one is notify method. Wait method, notify all method. So by using these three methods, we can achieve the inter-thread communication. Wait, notify, notify all. So wait means the thread that calls this method goes to wait until the some other thread brings it to the runnable state. So whenever you invoke this method, the thread will wait for the processor. So notify means this will awake the threads. Suppose if the T1 is in the waiting state, that has to be re-executed. That has to be awake. So that can be done by using the notify. Notify all. Notify all means all the waiting process will notify to wake up. So this is the inter-thread communication. So next one is suspending, resuming and stopping. Suspending, resuming and stopping. So both all these methods look like same. So suspending means pass the operation of the threads. Suspend. That means it will wait for the execution. Suppose T1 is executing. So if you invoke the method suspend, T1 dot suspend. So that means, so thread T1 will stops execution. Next, resuming. So after stopping, T1 dot resume. That means T1 will resume its operation. Next, stopping. So stopping means termination of the thread. So there is a difference between stopping and suspending. Suspending means, so there is a possibility of re-execution. Stopping means that is the end of the thread. Thread will not execute again. Suspending means the thread will execute after some time. Stopping means the thread will not execute. The thread will in the dead state forever. So this is the concept of suspending, resuming and stopping of the threads. So in the programs, if you want, you can use these methods. So in the Java 1.1, we have the methods. So after that, Java 2, from the Java 2, we are using this as Boolean variables. By using the flags, we can implement this suspend flag, resume flag, stop flag. So before the Java version 2, we are using the methods like the suspend, resume, stop. So in the Java, from the Java version 2, we are using as Boolean variables. That means we are using as a flags, suspend flag, resume flag, stop flag. So this is the end of the threads. So this is the end of the threads. So in the threads, we have learned the mainly three concepts. First one, in the threads, we have seen the thread class methods. We have seen the thread class methods. Next, we have seen the creation of the threads. Next, we have seen the creation of the threads. Next, we have seen the life cycle of the thread. Next, we have seen the life cycle of the thread. After that, we have seen the priority of the threads, default priorities of the threads. And then we have seen the synchronization of the threads. So synchronization of, in today's class, we have seen the synchronization of the threads. So this is the end of the threads. So we have left with the database connections. So in the 5th unit, we have database connections. So let us check the syllabus once. So all the programs are uploaded into the Edmodo group. Whatever the programs I have explained in the class are uploaded into the Edmodo group. All of you start writing the observations. So after completion of the observations, Java lab observations, so prepare the spiral binding of the lab record. I have given the dates also, lab dates. So at what date, what programs are executed. So check the syllabus here. So I have completed up to this one, up to threads. So in the threads, we have seen the need for the multiple threads. That means multi-threaded programming, multi-core processor we have seen. Next, we have seen mainly thread class. And then creation of the new threads. This is the important. Next, thread states we have seen. Next, thread priorities we have seen. Next, synchronization we have seen. Deadlocks and race condition. Inter-thread communication. Next, suspending, resuming, and stopping of the threads. So in this, the mainly the important questions, important concepts are mainly three things. First one is thread class. This is the one important question. Next, this is the very important. Creation of the new threads by using the thread class, by using the runnable interface. So in the runnable interface, we can implement it by lambda expressions and anonymous class, and then method reference also. There are three ways to implement that runnable interface that we have seen. Next, this is the thread states. This is the diagram, very important. Next, synchronization, thread synchronization. So these are the main questions in the multi-threaded program. Mainly thread class, creation of the new threads, thread states, and then synchronization. So this is the threads concept. So if you have any doubts, you can ask now. So, okay. So next we have left with the Java database connectivity. So we'll start it in tomorrow's class, Java database connectivity. So how do you connect the databases through the Java program? That we will see in the next classes. So, so all of you pay the examination fees and the 2-1 supply also. So if you have any supplies, you can apply now. So all the applications are available in the college website. All the payment details are given in the your WhatsApp groups. So pay the payments and send the receipts and application to the counselors. So do the payments as early as possible. So make sure that all the assignments, all subjects assignments, lab records, everything will be ready before the 17th. So before the 17th, at the end of the July, you may ask to come to the college. You will have the external exams. So get ready for the July 17th. July 17th, you have to complete all the things. Okay, thank you. From tomorrow onwards, the new timetable will be circulated to you. You can follow that. Thank you.